Hello, everybody, welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator, hello, everybody, welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator. So, happy day after the big emails of Epstein. And I wanted to get into now the aftermath, right? And what's really happening with JD Vance, right? Because, of course, we have the issue of him wanting, obviously it's really very clear to us that he obviously wants to take over once Trump goes. Oh, but it's not clear how close this is, and I've always seen that he ends up not actually taking over. So let's talk about that. And I will show you also some clips. I was watching Keith Edwards show, and he showed a clip of Lawrence O'Donnell talking about Gerald Ford, who was the vice president in the Nixon era. And they discussed this because Gerald Ford, when the worst was happening with Nixon, he never said anything public. And JD Vance similarly hasn't said anything public either. So so that's what we want to talk about. That's what we're going to look into. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Let's do the protection. I'd like to ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I feel my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I'd like to ask that information come only from the highest sources and that I create the good and only the good, and so it is. Okay, so let's get started. All right. Okay, so now we are going to listen to, through the Keith Edwards show, the clip of uh, Lawrence talking about Gerald Ford, right? Okay.
Reporting from Lawrence O'Donnell, who says it like this: JD Vance is trying to do a Gerald Ford potentially as he's preparing for a transition of sorts.
JD Vance is doing exactly what Gerald Ford did while the Nixon presidency was sinking and Richard Nixon was under increasing pressure over several months that led to his resignation. Gerald Ford said nothing. When things were the darkest for President Richard Nixon, Vice President Gerald Ford said nothing. And when Richard Nixon resigned the presidency, Vice President Ford said, "Our long national nightmare is over." Tonight, JD Vance is silent. Tonight, JD Vance is Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford said nothing about Richard Nixon as Nixon sank deeper into scandal, as Nixon, on his way to impeachment, which he only avoided by resigning the presidency, Gerald Ford said nothing because Gerald Ford knew that when he eventually took over the presidency, he didn't want the stain of Nixon on him. And so JD Vance is silent tonight. But what is JD Vance supposed to say tonight?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, one other reason, I have been.
So that's a really interesting question. And I want to also show you before I get into the questions. You know what? It's okay. But I'm sure you've seen this, that there's a Democratic congressman, Ro Khanna. He referenced a tweet of JD Vance's from 2021, where he asked, "Oh, why are we taking so long to reveal these files?" Right? So so that's that. And then so let's get to the questions. Okay. So let's ask this question. Where is JD Vance? And why has he been silent? Is he pulling a Gerald Ford? Lawrence O'Donnell said. So let me ask the question. So where is JD Vance? Why has been silent? Oh, it's interesting. I see this image of JD Vance as if he was I just had to drink something, as if you were in a stage, like a small theater or sometimes college lectures that have this like theater like setup. But I do see these like velvet curtains kind of. So it does to me look like a theater. So I see that there was this table, almost as if, when they have these political conferences or somebody's being interviewed and it's an event like that. And that he just left the stage and he's withdrawing. He's so it's as if either he just finished a lecture or he is withdrawing behind the curtains. And what's interesting is that he's like has this on his phone. Did you hear? Did you hear? Oh my God. I think it's the time. I think it's time. Have you? And he's just so excited because he's like, it's my moment. I was born to be president. That's just, wow, what luck, what incredible. Like he just can't contain his excitement. And he's just chatting with people. And then I see that he calls somebody, I think in the White House, or somebody in the administration asking, so have you heard anything? As if to inquire on whether they have heard anything from the office of, some sort of office that would be the office that does transitions. And no one has heard anything, but he's just like, okay, so I'm getting ready, getting ready. And then he goes into a still behind the curtains, almost as if it's like a dressing room type place. And he looks into them at himself in the mirror, rehearsing, and he has already written a speech. It's on his phone that he looks at from time to time. He is reading out his in front of the mirror this speech that he has made about becoming president, about how this is the moment when I thank you so I thank President Trump for this wonderful opportunity to be now that I'm your president. I am the president of like he's kind of rehearsing the speech in front of the mirror. And as he's doing that, there is this image of like this theater thing that there's a curtain, it's a private space where he's doing this, reading this speech to himself yesterday. But it's for some reason it shows me a woman, but other men as well. But the way that the one is dressed, to me, it feels like it could be Secret Service, but it could also be like some kind of foreign intelligence. Like he's being watched, so they're observing him doing that as if to say, "Not so fast," kind of feeling. Okay, so in other words, he has been silent because truly, he is preparing at least in his mind to take over. He thinks this is the moment when Trump is going to have to go. And at the same time, the other thing I got too is that he is not really he doesn't like Trump. And it's very hard for him over time to pretend like he actually cares about Trump. His goal is just to be president. And and that's the issue is that he's not, even though he looks like when he talks about Trump in public, he's very, oh, President Trump is so wonderful, this and that. In reality, he has contempt for him. He thinks he's dumb, vulgar, and too old or whatever. And he thinks that he's the one to take over. So he's entitled in that way. And so that's where we are. Now, let me just ask also just what hasn't come up is the exact Gerald Ford. And you know what? Let me see. I kind of feel like I can pick up Gerald Ford's energy, and I don't feel like he's agrees with JD Vance. So yes, what a not. I know this Gerald Ford person has the handkerchiefs some men keep in their pocket, and he's using it to dry his forehead. And oh, Rosie, what a tragedy. Oh wow. It was nerve-wracking for me, but I knew it had to be done. And I get this sense about this man, even though he pardoned Nixon, I think he did, right? He doesn't seem to have been terrible, honestly. He just seemed dignified here, at least from the other side. I wasn't perfect, Rosie, but I was dignified indeed. So, what do you have to tell us about JD Vance and what he's doing right now? What an abject, horrific scenario we're dealing with. Two traitors. So what is JD Vance going to do from your side? You may see more than we do. He's like this praying. Okay, I keep seeing an image. This is kind of a strange image. He's showing me an image of, again, JD Vance in a dressing room, as if he was in a, like could be a clothing dressing room type. And he's like straps down to his boxers and then the, wife beater thing. And he's getting ready to get dressed for the president outfit, and he's escorted out before the thing happens. That's what is going to happen, Rosie, just at the moment when he thinks it's going to come out. What's going to come out is him. Come out meaning get out is him. So they will prevent him from. Wow, I see again. This I've seen this before. This image of him having to sign something, and they tell him we have the evidence that the election was stolen. And so this is an opportunity for you to leave without an indictment, something like that. And that's it. And so it happens quickly. But he's ready. And it was like in a second. He was so ready to go. Yeah, and I see that. Interesting. Peter Thiel's also waiting for the events. And interesting. But I see that they get JD Vance before they get Peter Thiel. So he's like, what's going on? He's texting him and nothing, and they can't. And this is it. So, wow, wow. So interesting. Wow. Okay, so I have many questions. Wow. Okay, I have a question here. What was JD Vance's reaction to yesterday? That's right. I already got that answer. Let's just hear. I may be repeating myself, but I think in this situation it doesn't hurt because any bit of information may be helpful. So, what are JD Vance's plans? Is he preparing for a transition into power? Yes. But it's telling me also that in some ways he expected more cooperation with some people in the White House, or he expected that people would tell him about how a transition would happen, but nobody has. And he is a bit surprised even now that how cold they have been at him. And he is aware that Bannon does not like him. Okay, so is he preparing? Yes, so secretly he's preparing. Okay, at this point, it's a secret thing. All right, so now this may be a whole other video onto its own, but yesterday it came out that, I mean, we knew that Peter Thiel was in the files, but there was a specific, there were messages from between Peter Thiel and Epstein. Okay. And it was pretty clear. They was like inviting him to come to the islands or whatever. And it was pretty obvious that they have some sort of relation. I don't mean relationship, any personal, like, no, but just they're friends. They're close. They were close, right? Thiel and JE. So given that Thiel is the biggest supporter of Vance, what is JD Vance going to do about that? Is he going to? Now, it's funny, I still see him like, okay, he's just so excited about becoming president. No, Peter, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. For soon enough, I'll just, she shows like a white, you don't remember those white eraser pen, not eraser. You use the white out pen like that. Oh, he shows it. You just got a white out pen and delete your name. Don't worry. So he's not, it's in other words, he's not really that worried. He's very worried about himself. That's the only thing he is concerned about. And it also shows me, as I tell you this, the face of Thiel right now. Looking at JD Vance and thinking, well, he's a lot worse than I thought. I thought he was much easier to control. But even though Vance obviously cares about what Peter wants, he's still like his self-satisfaction is so obvious. Even though we know that everything he is because of Peter Thiel, right? He bought the the senator job. And we know that there's a lot of electoral issues, probably fraud in terms of numbers related to that election. But because no, long story, right? But anyway, it's so he doesn't seem to realize, or his ego is so big that he's like it doesn't occur to him anymore to think that like he does think that he owes everything to Peter Thiel, but he actually believes that he is great. He's just so great. That's why Peter Thiel. No, that's why Peter Thiel supports him. No, Peter Thiel supports him because he's malleable, he's flexible, and he can be controlled. Or so thought Peter Thiel. So okay, all right. Now let's go to. I just want to know here the question about what's Trump doing given the JD Vance situation, right? What is Trump doing today, and including anything he's how is he thinking? Okay, how is Trump? What's Trump thinking of JD Vance? Okay. Oh, I see Trump completely deranged in some, I don't know if it's overall some office, just throwing trays at people. It's just like, and I see that JD Vance is outside the door waiting to talk to him, and he throws a tray at the door, knowing that JD Vance, it's like as if he could, he would just throw a tray at JD Vance because he knows JD Vance wants his place. So there have been no preparations, no orders, no nothing about JD Vance. Like he doesn't, I don't feel like he will try to remove JD Vance from power before, but I think I mean, he doesn't like any vice presidents, right? But also he doesn't like JD Vance. He knows that he had to kind of, had to pick somebody, and that Peter Thiel gave a lot of money, and so did Elon. So, okay, so that's the story. Interesting. Okay, also let's do some cards, right? Let's do some cards now. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's just do some cards about the JD Vance situation. Okay, so let's get started. What's going on with JD Vance? And in the next, what is going on? What's happening now with JD Vance? Okay. All right. So let's see. So what's going on with JD Vance after the revelations? Okay. Oh, mhm. Okay, let's just see like that. Okay. Oh, wow, interesting. Okay. All these cup cards now interesting because this card here, it's a six of cups. That's the card of children. So something to do. It could also be a card of the past, but it's upside down. So some issues with children, we know that. Here is an offer of some sort and moving on, trying to move on from disappointment. But now I could see that being something like he knows that Trump is on the way out, so he has to move on from this difficult situation, right? So what's going on with JD Vance right now? Okay, here is Journey. Message. Imprisonment. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so see, can you guys see? I think you can because I can't. I have to. Computer screen is hidden from me. Okay, so journey message. That's right. Or it could even be the Epstein trips or foreign messages regarding imprisonment. It's funny because it's not talking about about Trump yet, but see, it's about the Khian or whatever. Interesting election, treachery, organization. Weird. And now this is a choice or making a choice, okay? So, all right. So not that I had an expectation, but I don't know, it just seemed a little different from what I thought, maybe. All right. So let's see. Surprise. Okay, maybe that was now waiting for the malady could mean sickness. It could actually mean sickness in terms of what Trump did to the girls, but it could also mean waiting. Now here's some money. Okay. Ex a surprise waiting for money. And I think this context could be, it doesn't have to be money, could be something that could come to him. So moving on, disappointment, organization, money, letter, treachery, sickness, election, making choices. Yeah, it's really interesting because the imprisonment card does not necessarily mean, because it's like when you ask a question about someone and this someone is JD Vance, is not Trump. The card that the imprisonment card, he's like in the situation, he's stuck in a situation, and there's messages that indicate some harm here. I wonder, is it related to him? Saying he doesn't know the depth of, is that about him? I'd say the environment. It's about Trump. It's interesting. Now it adds that it's really, it could be, I think it could be the election, but I think I was really asking about the Trump situation, with this. I feel like the cards are a little bit different than the visions I had, in the sense that through the cards here, it suggests that he's a bit more worried than I thought. In my visions, I saw him being really excited about taking over. But now it's it's like there are concerns here. So, but let me ask this. Okay, let me ask this. Does JD Vance think he's going to be the president? That's the card. So does JD Vance think he's going to take over from Trump and become the president? The question is really, does he think he will? Okay, worried. Interesting. Angry. Okay, so this is shared upside down. He is he going too far? Page something. Okay, here is public, secret, letter. That's right. The secret letters have become public. Jealousy. Okay. The women. Okay. Older man. Then this is deep. Okay. Does he think lovers? Okay. Waiting. So interesting. Does he think he's going to be president? Jealousy. He's worried about the secret. He did it to the woman. A woman, it could be the wife. There's an issues with the wife. We know that. Letter about the older man. Problems. But he has a deal here. That's why he's waiting. Yeah, it's interesting. Honestly, the cards are more like a more sober. They seem to suggest that he is actually really worried about it and how he will affect him. So, because I wanted again to get a confirmation, right? So, but let's ask another question here. What is going to happen to JD Vance in the next 3 months? So, the first, the present, then the middle. Let's say that would be February 13th. Okay, the last column. Oh, okay. The next 3 months for JD Vance. Okay, he aligns with lovers. Something comes out. Delay. Okay. Oh, coffin. No way. Woo, removal. Wow, removal. Wow, comes out. Whoa. This is really, really bad. Whoa, judge. Okay. Interesting. Judge letter. Letter. Oh, death. No, 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 no. That's it. That's it. So look, lovers is agree. It could be agreements, could be connection ends. The judge. Now, I don't think this is divorce, because the question really is about the Trump situation. Now, sudden ending, right? A sudden ending comes out, sudden end. So could be sudden society. No, because you have the ending here too. So the sun upside down, right? Something strange, something not so great comes out and leads to the removal. Now, removal in the letter, there's a letter related to removal. Then you have your delay to success because death comes. Uh-oh. Wow, wow. Let's see. Anything else changes? Okay, here. Okay, great fortune, sudden wealth. Wealthy man. Is that Peter Thiel, maybe? Yeah, but I don't think. Okay, let's just 1 second. Yeah, I mean, interesting. Let's see more here. Change. News. Oh, losses. Ending. Not ending in losses, right? He lost something. And then let's see. What about tell me about the death? Anger, travel, visit. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Money. Okay, that's right. Something covert comes out, goes into the end. So yeah, so really the cards are this part is really pretty clear. I try to get more information even, but it's really something. It does not like if you have to think, right, of somebody who would become president, that does not look like it at all. Okay, because again, there's no other man card but his, right? It's about him. So this could mean an ending, right? For him. Sad for him. Oh, no, no, no. So let's ask like this. So is JD Vance going to be happy with the outcomes for him in the next 3 months? Is JD Vance happy about what's happening to him in the next 3 months? So, what he wants. Oh no, an ending. Really? Creating an ending? Can't collect? Oh no. Okay, here's message. Fortune. Money. Okay. Woman. Time. Child. Yeah. He wants to keep what he has. Money. Yeah. Ending. Can't collect. No resources. Oh, official with the military. Answer. Loss. No, this is a part of gambling. Well, military loss. Sadness card. Okay, here it is. So answer recognized about friend. Okay. So still it doesn't, it's interesting. There's all these possibilities of a lot of money, but I'm not sure. It's also interesting, the woman here, since we're really asking about the political situation, the woman for a long time over the man, the child, I always see JD Vance as a child in the sense that he's the vice president, right? So if there's a woman here who who is going to, the anchor is going to be permanent, okay? I wonder if it's Kamala. Okay, could be something like that. But anyway, so this is what we have. But I really think the visions are the more, more clear. I think more accurate in that sense. But it's always good to have, right? The um the cards as well. But interesting. Yeah, it feels like the reverse is it reversals for him. But he seems to, but the card suggests also he seems to be concerned and worried. So, all right, okay. So think about watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.